Listeners be advised. The Soliloquy podcast discuss matters related to the human experience and many that are sexual in nature. Due to this, some conversations may surround triggering topics such as sexual violence, self-harm, abuse, and much more. Please be advised, a list of crisis and psychological resources will be available in the show notes of this episode. With that said, let's get started with the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention please as we go through the following safety instructions.
In the event that there is a loss of cabin pressure, oxygen mask will drop from the overhead. Place the mask over your nose and mouth. Breathe normally as oxygen is flowing even if the mask is not inflated. Be sure to adjust your own mask before helping others.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Soliloquy podcast, where we step out and speak on sexuality. This is your favorite host, Vernon T. Scott, also known as Slaytor Jackson, and for my other hosts out there, Sebastian Adams. On today's episode, we will be having a discussion about Planned Parenthood, not necessarily the organization, but just in general, planning for parenthood, all things like that. And on today's episode, I have Adrian, how you doing, girl?
I'm cool. I love that Oprah-like intro.
Not Oprah.
That was delicious. I feel rich. I feel wealthy.
Now I'm thinking about Oprah, Jesus.
Bruh, when you get Oprah on the pod, you have arrived.
Right.
At that point.
You know, speaking of celebrities, I hate that. It's sad that he passed away, but I really wanted to have Kevin Samuels on my podcast just to debate him on relationship stuff, what is not toxic, and just talk about his show, show, how the differences between the two and the benefits and hurt that people may get from either one of those. So I rest in peace, Kevin Samuels. Though I was not a supporter of his ideology, and I didn't follow his show as much, but it's still sad.
Yeah.
Poor thing.
Yeah, nice suits though.
Oh, the man was sharp. The man stayed sharp. But yeah. So we are discussing Planned Parenthood related issues. So I want to start this conversation off about discussing abortion rights and things like that. As of this recording, we don't know what the fuck is going on in terms of the Supreme Court. Well, we do know, based off of that opinion that was brought out. But Adrian, what is your views of abortion?
So for me personally, I believe in a woman's right to choose. Either way it goes, whether it's she wants to carry the baby and it's a choice between her safety and the fetus's safety, or, you know, whether it's, you know, she was a young girl, she didn't get the sexual education she needed, and now she's in a situation, you know. I believe that pregnancy, first of all, just from a medical standpoint, when they say miracle of life, like, it's a fucking miracle, i.e. a bunch of random events that make a person. And we do this often, every time certain circumstances and conditions are met, i.e. sperm, egg, fertilization. For every person that arrives and is healthy and, you know, there's no issue, there's so many other would-be people, or even, you know, people that weren't able to make it, that exist as well. And what I believe the Supreme Court is doing is now forcing, one, sex to be a punishment against women, and two, about to, I don't want to say pollute the population, but severely impact and possibly impair the population, because every pregnancy has to go to term, regardless of the circumstances. It's gonna be a mess. Yeah,
It is.
fucking guess what? Abortion's not gonna stop. It's just gonna go from a safe, healthy, secure procedure to some back alley bullshit. So
Hmm. I agree with you there. Like, it's going to be a mess, and I just think about the dominoes that will like that will just fall
mhm,
with this kind of decision, because this is a decision that removes people's autonomy over their own body, and that means for those people who like drugs, that means you will now have regulations, even stricter regulations on what drugs you can use and what you cannot use.
mhm,
That means recreational drugs might have an impact there. There's going to be like Colorado that's focusing more on legalizing all drugs, regardless of if it's like heroin. I think they're working on making sure that's something that is available recreationally, because when you have access to certain things like that and you are getting treatment, you are getting taken care of, you have more control of what you do, because some people can function on heroin and do fine, and it's not any like it's not any negative impact on their lives that they experience because of such thing. But it also, with legalizing things like that, and you're able to have funding provided into the research, or more money going into that state's economy, you can make sure you have better mental health facilities for those individuals who are who has the potential of overdosing or addicts. You have a lot more services provided for those people who do abuse drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. And when you are so happy and willing to restrict the bodies of women, how far until that goes to the bodies of people of different races? And I agree, it is a way to punish women for having sex. That's all these decisions have been about. It's like, and I hate that we have to qualify the need for abortion by saying incest or having to be raped, because a person does not need, they should not have to go through a traumatic experience just for them to have a right to choose what happens on their body. And that's the thing that really annoys me the most about the arguments that are being made. Regardless if you out here thought bopping, spreading those legs open, busting wide open for a nickel, I don't give a damn. If you want to remove a fetus from you, you should have that right to do it, regardless of what you were doing the nights before, the months before. And then there's those people who are arguing that there's post-birth abortions. I'm like, that's murder. So you're saying a child that is born can be aborted? That's
no,
that's murder. Post, you want to know? We want to know post-birth abortion. George Floyd, that was a post-birth abortion. Tamir Rice. You have Sandra Bland, Breonna Taylor. You have so many people who have been murdered on these streets. Are you going to fight for that post-birth abortion?
mhm,
Like, let's be real about it. Like, the concept, the reality that we live in today's society is scary, and I hate it for all of us. And the fact that we have to continuously hear about the culture wars, there we go, that's the word, and just the pushing of a certain ideology in a land that is supposed to be to have free choice and freedom and all this other stuff, but while we're restricting those freedoms on a regular basis.
mhm, mhm.
It's annoying. It's scary. I don't know where this country is going. I know I'm looking into multiple places that I can retreat to if the money starts to align that way. But this is not where it's supposed to be. This is not where it's at.
Mm-mm.
Mm.
Agree.
Do you, by any chance, know anybody who's ever had an abortion?
Uh, I don't think I do. If I do, I don't. Oh, yes. I do know one. It wasn't. It was the kind that you can just take the pill or whatever, because it was early enough along that was still effective, and she was miserable for about 3 days, but
Mm-hmm.
everything was good.
Right. I know a couple people who've had an abortion, and it does impact you mentally because it is a hard choice. It is a very hard decision for any person to make. And the way that it's framed, it's like people are just like, oh, I wake up today, I'm going to go get an abortion. No, you have a lot of mental turmoil. You live a full making the decision, you mentally live a full life of what can happen. I think about that episode, the final episode of Insecure, where everything kept going. Like you are, it might have been the episode before the last one, where Issa was thinking of different scenarios of where her life trajectory would be.
Yeah.
And that's something that happens to people when it comes to making that decision. They look into the trajectory of their life, what may or may not happen, the impact that has, like having a child has on their finances, their relationships, all of that. Like people don't think about like how heavy it is to bring a child into this world. And when you are confronted with that, because you can go throughout your entire life like, oh, I can't wait to be a parent. I can't wait to be a parent. And then you have that moment of, oh, I might be a parent. Shit. That's a reckoning moment. And if you realize at that moment that I cannot at my current state be a parent to a whole nother human being, let alone be like a dog parent or a cat parent, I need an escape. And that's the option that people have tend to take, regardless of if they have protection or not, because birth control isn't 100%, condoms isn't 100%, abstinence doesn't do anything. Actually, if you really want to decrease the possibility of having children, yes, abstinence is the way to go, because abstinence actually lessens your sperm count in men. For men, it will lessen your sperm count. So do what you want to do. Like, I hate it. I hate it here, y'all. I hate it here. Um, on a different note, outside of abortions, how often do you go to the gynecologist?
Once a year. I would only go like besides my annual exam, I would only go if something were to happen, like that
Mhm.
arm or something. But my vaginal health's pretty tip top. You know, I have regular periods. They're pretty much the same every month. My pap smears are always good. Discharge is normal. Like, yeah, I got pretty good coochie health. But yeah, it's. I remember. What am I trying to say? Yeah, it's. I never had a pregnancy scare like that. Like, well, I did, but they weren't like. Actually, I wasn't actually pregnant. I was just stressed, so my period was late. But
Mhm.
like, um, I never. I never really had to go to the gynecologist like with that in mind. But as you know, me and my partner are about to get married, in January, we're going to begin to start our family. So there will be a lot of gynecological visits for the two of us. Because our first child, we're just going to uh, do the insemination, and then our second one, Benita's actually going to carry my egg with our same father from the first baby. So we have a little fam bam.
Oh, that's so cute. I love it. I love it. Oh my God. Ooh. I'm happy for y'all. Yes, yes. That's what Planned Parenthood is about, y'all. Planning out the parenthood, uh, being parents and whatnot. And you know, I love that for y'all. And I hope that goes well. And that's one of the things I'm actually worried about with this current climate that we're in, because this will, if they decide to reverse that on the Supreme Court level and provide that right to the states to decide what women can do with their bodies, that will actually limit the opportunity for artificial insemination and things like that, because some states like Texas, because it's always what the fuck Texas, will ban things like that, because I'm quite sure they're moving towards a position of just banning the right to be gay in their state. I don't know for sure, but it's Texas. I would not be surprised. The Holiloquy podcast focuses on the variability of sexual expression. When it comes to sexual expression, we often depend on pornography to illustrate how one must perform sexually. For those who have not learned this by now, the stuff you see in porn is not real. Pornography provides a singular perspective of sexual expression that is not often the reality we see during our own sexual encounters. The Holiloquy podcast is a conversation that takes you outside of the compressed box of what many know about sex. Some of the topics we discuss includes kinks, condom usage, status disclosure, and past sexual experiences. The Holiloquy podcast steps out on sexual norms and recognizes that the norm is not the only normal. Subscribe today and join the conversation. The right to be gay in their state. I don't know for sure, but it's Texas. I would not be surprised. But it's just when is it going to get to a point where because I'm quite sure they'll do it, because Roe v. Wade is something that helped out with providing the right to have LGBTQ related marriages and interracial marriages and whatnot. So what's going to happen in certain states that are racist as fuck, like Georgia, Texas, Alabama, Mississippi, Idaho, Utah. I could keep naming shit. Like Kentucky, Tennessee, Louisiana, Florida. Did I say Alabama? Alabama's actually pronounced Ala racist in my head, but like all these damn states, Texas. Like what's going to happen there? And I will hate for it to get to a point where they're just like, oh yeah, we're no longer studying in vitro fertilization and things like that. What? All the developments in technology that has been created within that field, we have to just act like it no longer exists. How these studies and can help out with male infertility and improving that, like I mentioned earlier, with how being abstinent lowers your sperm count. Are we not going to look into ways to improve sperm count? Okay, jacking off can help that out somewhat, but there's still those individuals in our society who are sterile. So what are we going to do for them to help them out? So there's so many people who may want to have a family, grow their family, who might not be able to do so. And if things like this, the way that this country's progressing, degressing, if that's a word, what's going to happen then? But enough about the Supreme Court shit. So one of the things that we talked about in the intake meeting was yeast infections. And a lot of men don't know this, but men, you're eligible. You can get a yeast infection, just to let y'all know. It's possible. It's definitely possible, but it's something that commonly impacts women. Have you ever had a yeast infection? What kind of tips, tricks, or any information you would like to share about those?
Yeah, so I'll just tell the story like I told you in the intake meeting. So like I have had two yeast infections in my life, and it's from the same thing, which is antibiotics. So I am prone to getting strep throat when I get sick. And so I went, I remember the first time I got strep, I had just started working at Geico. And this bitch I was training had that bitch looked sick. Like she looked diseased. And this is pre-COVID, y'all. So like we wasn't like tripping like we do now. So like, wasn't no mask in the building type shit. So I'm like, can you sneeze? Can you breathe that way, bitch? Like you seem ill. And so she's like, oh, I feel good. So the next day she didn't come to work. So I was like, where the little sick bitch at? And they was like, oh, she's sick. And I was like, what? She's sick. And so I woke up that day feeling like tired or whatever, like just super tired. Like I just wanted to sleep. But I had to work. So I'm at work and I'm falling asleep at my desk. And my supervisor's like, yo, go to the break room, take you a little nap, and then come back. So I clock out. I'm in the break room, leaned up against the thing. I'm knocked out. Like, luckily, I wake up in the time I was supposed to wake up, which is like 30 minutes. I go back to my desk and I'm like cold, like I'm shivering. And my boss comes up and she touches my forehead. She's like, you're burning up. She's like, sign out. You gotta go home. Like, you just gotta go home. Like, you're sick as fuck. Like, seriously. So I sign out. I go to my car. I drive. It is summer. I think it's like summertime. And I have the heat on 80 in my car. And it's like 90 degrees outside.
Oh no.
I'm freezing in my brain, but like bitch is burning up. So I get back to the apartment or whatever. And this is when I was dating she who shall not be named. That put me in jail. But anyway, she was like, oh, babe, you're sick. Like, let me, take care of you, whatever. And so she made me some juice and soup, threw it right back up. So all I can end up doing is just sleeping. So she takes me to the doctor the next day, and the doctor's like, oh, you got strep throat. So we're going to give you, and they were like, it's bad. We're going to give you augmented, which is a really broad, like, antibiotic. It's going to kill everything, which is important. Remember this, everything. So I take the augmentin. I'm feeling better. Like, it's like each day I feel less and less like I'm gonna die. And then like after about 3 days on it, I start feeling like better. Like the patches in my throat are gone. There's still the inflammation or whatever. And it's usually like a 7 to 10 day course that you take. So around day 5, and remember, you have to take all of it or else you could relapse and the bacteria will be resistant. And it's just a whole other thing. Always take your antibiotics, people, start to finish. Do not skip doses, do not double doses. Take them all. Anyway, so around day 5, I'm like, okay, my body, my throat and shit feels better, but like my coochie feel kind of like, this is not how my coochie be feeling. And so I can actually feel it like on my clitoris, as well as like at the lips and inside. And so I was like, okay, let me just take a shower. Like maybe a bitch dirty or something. So I took a shower. And after I got the shower, that made it worse. Like the discomfort like was on 10, and then I started itching, and I was like, "Yo, what the fuck is this?" Like I've never, because remember, this is the first one I've ever had. So I'm like, "Yo, this is not okay." Like there was no odor. Like it didn't have a stank smell. It smelled like my normal cooch, but like there was serious discharge. It was chunky. And so I showed my partner at the time, and she was like, ooh, I think you have a yeast infection, babe. So I called my doctor, and they're like, oh, yeah, that's a common side effect when women take augmentin, where they give you this pill, fluconazole, and just one pill, it'll clear it up. And so I go get the pill from the pharmacy, take the pill. Literally 24 hours later, I'm good as new. But it was itchy. Like that was the worst thing. I remember it's an itch you cannot scratch, because you can scratch it, but you're gonna destroy your vaginal canal. So like, and possibly your cervix, and maybe even like up deeper in there, you could do damage. Like you do not scratch that ever. Like the most I would say is okay is maybe like a little bit of tissue and just wipe it, like just a gentle wipe. But like even that, if you give in to the feeling, because when when you have an itch, if you scratch it, it feels good. If you do that, you might end up like really hurting yourself. Like tissue damage is real. So don't scratch, guys. But yeah, that one pill cleared it up. Like I didn't even have to go to the gynecologist because everything stopped after I took the pill. And that's because because augmentin is a super strong and broad antibiotic, it kills the good and bad bacteria in the body. There's bacteria that naturally exist in certain places in the body because they have a function and a role. Like your gut, your intestines, they have good bacteria and bad bacteria. So like when you get food poisoning, let's say you have E. coli, you don't get, it's not like you didn't have E. coli. E. coli is already inside of you. But when you ate that food, the balance became uneven. And now the E. coli is greater than your good bacteria and it's wreaking havoc. So you need to kill it off, get it back in balance so that everything's back in harmony. Same is true in your coochie. You got good bacteria, bad bacteria. A yeast infection is when the bad bacteria are out of balance. They overgrow. There's more of them than the good. And that causes the symptoms that the vagina goes through, which is the discharge. There may or may not be odor. You know, women are different. For me, when I have them, there is no change in odor. It still smells like it always does, like myself. But the discharge is how I know. And the sensitivity to touch is another like symptom for me, of course, and the itching. That fucking itch. Worst feeling ever, top 10. I would wish that on my worst enemy. I would. Like, how about you itch?
I'm done.
If a yeast infection is left untreated, it can cause damage to your reproductive systems. So guys and girls, you know, definitely don't be afraid to keep up with your sexual health. Like if you see something, say something. If it don't feel right, it probably ain't. Get help. Prevention is best maintenance.
I agree. Like, in the Twitter sphere, I saw a thread of women saying that they enjoy having sex while they have a yeast infection because that's the one thing that will actually scratch that itch. I don't understand it, but because I don't have a vulva, I'm not a vulva owner, so I would not know that experience. I don't think I want to know that experience, but yeah, to each their own. But
that is fucking nasty. I mean, in theory, yeah, I'm pretty sure the dick would scratch that itch. Like, you probably be a whole demon on the dick that day because you are making him feel good and making you feel good. So, but that is fucking nasty. No, you should not. Keep that shit to yourself, okay? Do not be fucking even with a condom. No,
right.
Let your body heal, people.
Look, for those who are participating in raw intercourse with their partners who own a vulva and you are a penis owner, please invest in some pH wipes and also make sure you are washing properly because anything can throw off that balance. So just keep that in mind, individuals out there. The last thing I want to talk about before we go into the Never Have I Ever section is, what was your sex education like?
So from the state standpoint, I got what was, required to graduate.
Mm-hmm.
But from like a personal standpoint, I taught myself mostly, because my mama was like heavily Christian. So the topic of sex was just not allowed, like, ever. I only found out where babies come from because I watched Look Who's Talking with my mom, and I was like, "Hey, babies come from tadpoles because a sperm looks like a tadpole."
Mm-hmm.
And we were learning about frogs and amphibians and shit, and I was like, "Are humans frogs? Are frogs human?" My mom could see me becoming like developing an ideology that was dumb as fuck. So she had to intervene. She's like, no, babies come from sperm and eggs. They meet, a man fertilizes the woman, the man has the sperm, the woman has the egg, bang, bang, boom, that's a baby. That's all you need to know. And then that was it. Like from age 4 to like 13, 12, when I got my period, that's when I got the true tea, which was, dudes have dicks and you have a pussy and this is going to happen every month. And if it doesn't happen, you're a whore because you're pregnant. And tampons are for whores. And Yeah, just a whole lot of warped bullshit. So,
Pause. Did she really say tampons are for whores?
yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, tampons are for whores. So all you Tampax Pearl, Tampax Sport, all my Tampax sisters were whores. According to my mother, but fuck her, what does she know? Um, yeah, that was it. But when I went to college, I would say by that point in time, all of the sex education I had was either through pornography or
Mhm.
like actual experience with a person. I had like maybe 5 or 6 partners in high school, not partners, but because we're kids. But I had 2 girlfriends, a boyfriend, and then like 4 other people I fucked, just because I was a fucking cheater. I don't know.
So you've been cheating all your life.
Up until 3 years ago.
But really, sex education needs to be better, especially here in Georgia. I think my sex ed was my first experience in terms of the talk was seeing a porno. And this was shown to me by some dude that my mom was dating at the time. He was a cool guy, but I was also like 6 and should not have been watching the porno. And that was, oh, this is what is supposed to happen kind of conversation. I'm like, okay. Then also learned, the game of, how to interact with women at like age 9. I forgot who talked. I think that was like a conversation with my cousins and whatnot. And then the state funded sex education in middle school, which I was like, this didn't answer any of my questions because one, okay, you told me that STDs are bad. I remembered everything related to STDs, and now it's known as STI. So okay. They mentioned AIDS briefly, and they were just like, okay, HIV turns to AIDS, and if you get AIDS, you die. That was essentially what was going on there. They didn't have any real discussion about birth control. They said, okay, women take pills to keep themselves from getting pregnant. They didn't mention IUD. I didn't find out about that until high school. Any other kind of birth control. But they did say wear condoms if you're going to have sex, and that's it. That's the only way to keep from having a baby. And then, of course, we had the little home ec class that had nothing to do with economics, where we just had a flower child, meaning a child made out of flour. I forgot the name of my child. Oh well,
Wow.
fuck you. Could have made you into some fucking fried chicken, bitch.
Whoa.
So high school, that I would say is where I got the most sex ed, and it wasn't because we had a sex ed class. I went to a health science and engineering high school, so on the health science side, we did talk about like reproduction in many of our classes because you need to know that in the medical field if you're going to pursue that. But in my anatomy class is where we start talking more about birth control, IUDs, and what else? How we talked about hormones. So that's where I got a good bit of the my sex ed from, even though still didn't answer all questions, but it was the basics. Other than that, nothing. It was just independent research and hoeing that filled in more gaps. So
Wow.
mhm. So on that note, as promised, let's get into this never have I ever shit. So Adrian, first up. Ooh, hold up. I'm messing shit up. Jesus. Fix it all. Take the wheel, Lord. Never have I ever had sex while I was tied up.
I have not, but I am interested. Very interested.
I haven't either, and I'm with you. I'm also interested. I need to get some handcuffs. I also need to get some ropes. and I need to find a new person to, a new company that I can test toys with, so I can get free toys. So give me free products. So I need to invest in those things to improve my fun.
Okay.
Have you have you purchased any of those things yet? Like a handcuffs or rope?
Yeah, we have rope, we have handcuffs, we have I think we have a crop, a whip, the thing you hit the horse with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like that. We have the rose.
Ooh, child. I feel like that'd be an interesting experience to be tied up and your partner using a rose on you. Oh my God.
Yes.
That's scary. Ooh.
Oh, yeah. That rose is, I love the rose. Like,
Wait, do either one of you have the magic wand?
no.
I heard that's a wonderful investment.
Mhm.
Um, it's not something that goes internal, but it's an external thing, and I heard it gets the job done and gets the job done quick.
Oh,
Yeah.
I look at it.
Yes, girl. Look into that.
Oh, we have massage oil, we have candles, and nipple clamps. Those are for her.
Ooh.
Look, I'll punch her in her forehead.
See, I tried nipple clamps once, but that's also the same day I realized how extremely sensitive my nipples are.
Ooh,
I tried
it
it.
hurt.
It hurt like hell. And I tried to like change the settings of the clamps that I had, and that still wasn't improving the pleasure. It was just still painful. And like even when it comes to nipple play, you cannot bite my nipples, or else you might get a fist to the face. Nibbles are welcomed, but yeah, they sensitive. They sensitive.
On the contrary, my nipples are not tender unless I'm about to have my period.
Oh, interesting. So have you
Yeah.
tried the nipple clamps?
No, I don't have any interest in that.
Oh. Wait, what kind of clamps does she have? Are they, is the metal clamp?
It has like a bead, and then like a rubbery, like the tips are kind of like rubbery dipped, and they.
Oh, I think that's the same kind I got.
Mm,
Interesting. So, would you like a sex question?
yes.
So, do you like to use condoms? Well, when with I guess just might as well keep it general. Do you like to use condoms? Why or why not? If you do, what's your go-to kind?
So I do for both reasons. I ain't trying to be nobody mama, just coochie inspiration. So when I'm having sex with a man, I love Trojan. What is it called? It's like it's in this orange package and it's like duos or whatever.
Hmm.
Not basically they're like very thin and not very thin. It just feels so nice on a hard dick. Like it's a nice feeling.
Is it the one with the ridges?
Yes.
Mm, mm.
But you know how the regular Trojans are like really thick. Like I don't like those. It's like Trojan bearskin, I think is what it's called.
Yes.
Ribbed, and it's like just it feels like when you have a Whamma Bama in there, it feels like that's who he is. Like you, it's like it feel like you fucking raw for real. But I wouldn't know because I don't fuck raw.
Right.
But yeah, I like those. But when I am using my dildo, I still use condoms because like for her protection, a lot of the women that I've been with have been very sensitive when it comes to their vaginal area. So like just to, keep a clean environment and
Mhm.
protect them. Because silicone, even if you do wash it over time, it can harbor bacteria or whatever. So,
Mhm.
we do clean them, but also I'll have a condom on it so that they can have that extra layer of protection for themselves. We don't want to throw no pHs off. We don't want to have no issues. I love the pussy. I'm not trying to hurt it.
Right. I also, even when I use some of my toys, I would put a condom on them too, because it does help out with maintaining its cleanliness. And like, I know some people might be like, oh, that's a waste of condoms. No, it's not a waste. Like it really does help out with like you said, reducing bacteria. And if I'm going to be using the toy, I know how I am. I'm not really interested in getting up out of bed afterwards. So just being able to remove that. And then I even use a condom on myself for like any kind of like fleshlight kind of toy I may have. Then of course I'm getting out of bed to throw away the condom, but then I can just leave the toy wherever it is and then clean it off the next day. So that does help me out in terms of cleanliness. When it does come to any kind of penetrative sex, I always wear condoms, except for when I was with my ex. That's different, but I'm strong on condom usage, and a lot of that is due to reducing my chances of catching any kind of STIs and anything like that. And I prefer to use skins, because they have a lot of they have a non-latex version. And that helps out just in case if I come across somebody who's just like, oh, I'm allergic to the latex. And I'm just like, oh, that's fine. That's pretty much all I use. So there we go. That it alleviates that excuse. I also like their bearskin condom too. It is very thin and it's very efficient. It does feel as though that you're having sex without a condom, which is a benefit for everybody involved. I guess everybody involved, because there's that barrier protection, and then it still feels like there's nothing there. So skins. I do not recommend using Magnum. I'm on a campaign against them. Y'all do not buy Magnums. It does nothing for your partner. It does nothing for you. It's a very, very thick ass condom.
So thick. Like, for you to make a Magnum thin, you gotta have like a horse dig.
Right. Like don't.
And
like I like to try different condoms too. And one of the condom brands that I'm interested in trying next is the B brand, which is also a black owned condom distributor, condom maker. So I want to try theirs out. What else? There was this one condom that I use for oral. I typically do not use condoms for oral because they do taste horrible, but I think it's called One. I think that's the brand. I need to like double check. Or it might be Icon, but those have no flavor to it. They're very useful. Yeah, I think it is Icon. They don't taste like rubber. They do not have a weird texture on them. I don't think they have a lot of lube in their package, so definitely you will have to utilize your own lube. Always utilize lube when it comes to sex. But yeah, I'll say those are my top condoms: Skins, Bearskin, and their regular brand. So yeah, condom people over here.
Yes, safe over here.
Safer sex, y'all. It's still good and amazing sex. So Adrian, do you have any last words, last message for the audience?
No. Yes. Abortion, we don't know where it's going. At this time, well, we're recording it with, probably when it airs, we'll know. But I will help anyone that needs to get access to that care. Like, if you need an abortion and you need to do some like some recon, like ops type shit, call me, bitch. We gonna get that motherfucker out of you. Like, yes. I'm an ally to all of y'all that need that.
Look, it's going to be an underground railroad for getting an abortion. That's it's sad to say it that way, but that's essentially where we heading to from how these motherfuckers are acting.
Mhm.
It's sad, but with that being said, thank you so much for recording with me today, Adrian. I love you so much. You're always welcomed on the podcast. You're an amazing person. You know, amazing personality. You're just sweet. You're a blessing. I love you so much. Thank you so much.
I love you too. Y'all visited me yesterday.
I did visit her yesterday. Now, to the listeners, thank you all so much for listening to the Holiloquy podcast, where we step out and speak on sexuality. Make sure you do all the great things, which includes liking, sharing, subscribing, rating, reviewing, sharing this podcast with your friends, most definitely those who may need this message. Just in case no one else told you this today, you are beautiful. You are worthy of happiness and joy. You are enough and then some. You may not live up to the expectations of others, but that is okay. You are only required to walk in your own shoes. Make each day you live lead you towards abundance. With that said, love you all and see you next episodes. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Holiloquy podcast, where we step out and speak on sexuality. You can subscribe to the podcast through your favorite podcasting app and find us on the web at www.holiloquy.com. That's www.heauxliloquy.com. Share the podcast with your friends and join the conversation.